So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here. Be my guest. I would like to invite you to be my guest in this brand new purpose-built facility, and we called it Poliopolis, and I like the Greek way we pronounce it. And it's a name that my wife gave to it, and I'm very thankful to her. She's here. Thank you, Miriam. It has been built quickly, in 3 days. Not as quickly as you see on this video, but it was quick. And then it was finalized, furnitured in 1 month. Can you imagine? I would like now to offer you something. Sir, ma'am, I would like to offer you free residency for 28 days in this facility. You get a private room, bedroom, fully equipped, as you can see. Plenty of possibilities for relaxation with the relaxation room. You have a team of very committed nurses and doctors who are around. There is a fitness facility and a personal coach 1 hour a day. It's unbelievable. We have a lab to check your stools and samples almost daily. Plenty of room, as you can see. A lot of privacy, a very limited number of co-inhabitants, and above all, we offer Belgian haute cuisine in a well-equipped kitchen. So be my guest. But, there is a but, I won't let you leave until you have spent 28 days with us. And of course, respected a number of conditions and agreements. Well, you might think that people who accepted our invitation were crazy. Well, in May 2017, we had twice 15 adults who did so. And in fact, this was the only way to gather the data, and that's all what we are discussing today, how to gather specific data. Well, to gather the data that we otherwise would never be able to bring together. Behind this door, I would have a look at some recent history on poliomyelitis to better understand why we had to lock these volunteers, why we had to collect their body fluids, wastewater, and stools to avoid that it would enter into the environment. A quick history. Polio, as you all know, is a highly infectious viral disease, typically transmitted by contaminated water and sewage. We do have 2 polio vaccines who did a terrific work. On the one hand, we have the live attenuated polio vaccine. We offer it in little drops. And we have the inactivated vaccine that we offer via an injection. And we have to look what they did towards polio type 1, 2, and 3. Well, since 1988, they brought down the number of polio cases by more than 99%. This is amazing. What else? Polio type 2 has been declared eradicated, and wild type polio type 3 has not been detected anymore since 2012. For the moment, only polio type 1 is circulating, as you can see on this recent graph from the World Health Organization, with very little activity in 2016, 17, and 18. 2017, polio type 1 paralyzed approximately 20 children. So this is an amazing job that was done by these 2 vaccines, and of course by huge immunization programs. Wild-type polio type 1 is circulating in a limited number of countries, like as you can see here, in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this nice story has a but. If we go back to the map, you will see other spots. Orange ones, green ones, and blue ones. Well, how can we explain this? These oral polio vaccines are live, attenuated particles. You swallow them. They will come in your gut, they come in the stools, and finally in the environment. And on a very rare occasion, they can start to mutate, to circulate in the community, and to be the cause of little outbreaks, but outbreaks of vaccine-derived polio. And they can be related to type 1 strain of that vaccine, and these are the orange spots, or they can be related to the type 3, which are the green spots, or to type 2, which are the blue spots. For the moment, and that's tricky, we do have more of these vaccine-derived polio cases in the world than wild-type cases. And this does not fit in an eradication story, in an eradication project. So if we look at the situation in DRC Congo, we do have a few of these outbreaks of circulating vaccine-derived polio type 2. The way to manage this, to control this, to limit this, is to use stockpiled oral polio vaccine type 2. Wait a minute. So we start to use, because of these vaccine-derived polio, a vaccine that at the end can cause vaccine-derived polio. It's a bit a contradiction. It's a bit like fighting fire with fire, but it's the best option we had for the moment, or we have for the moment. So clearly, we need a novel oral polio, attenuated polio vaccine type 2, because we want to, first of all, limit the transmission, have a vaccine that is very easy to offer in droplets, but of course we don't want to carry the risk of that mutation. So that's why we have to work on a novel type of attenuated oral polio vaccine type 2. Two of these vaccines have been developed, candidate vaccines, and I may say that the father and the mother of these vaccines are sitting here in the room. Very thankful for them, because that's very important in this project. But the question now is, how are we going to test these vaccines, given the context of the global eradication of type 2? That's what I told you. So if we start to work with a novel vaccine that is live attenuated and that can shed the virus into the environment, we might become responsible for spreading, again, vaccine-derived type 2. So as long as we don't know whether this vaccine is genetically stable, we have to find subjects that agree to be locked in a container village for 28 days. We collect all the body fluids, the wastewater, and the stools, so to avoid that it enters into the environment. And that's, of course, why we had to build this brand new purpose-built facility. So I told you these candidate vaccines were developed, and mid last year, May 2017, the two candidates were tested in this facility. Each candidate was offered to 15 subjects. So we had to screen these subjects medically. We are used to do that in a vaccine trial, you know that, but of course also psychologically. Can you imagine? You put together 15 different characters, 15 different personalities. I hear already some noises there. They are brought together, they don't know each other in advance. They have to agree to spend 28 days together. We had architects, artists, designers, students, fathers, mothers. They all had their own story. They had a victim of polio in the family. They wanted to finish to write their book. The student wanted to finish his master thesis. They all had their own reason to be there. And we walked around as doctor, as manager, as scientist, but above all as concierge during the whole period. But I was very happy I was trained as a general practitioner, because you can listen, you can try to take away the tension between people. I can tell you first 2 weeks is okay, week 3 is a disaster, and week 4 is really a challenge. And all those volunteers always have the right, as you know, to leave. But of course, in a contained project, it's not evident. So you always have to continue to persuade them to stay inside. So we did so. And this was the only way to collect data on safety. And the safety is perfect. To collect data on immune response. And I must say, immune response is fantastic. But above all, of course, to collect a lot of data on neurovirulence and genetic stability. And also that is perfectly as expected. Which means that we have submitted now all these data, different files, to international authorities, to our local regulators, to European regulators, so that we can move on with phase 2 of this study, which means these 2 candidates, at this very moment, are tested in a larger number of adults in the Ghent University and my own university in Antwerp. And as I speak now, I have to tell you that my team is recruiting subjects. So it's a fantastic moment. We just started beginning of this week with this phase 2 project. And we continue to document, of course, safety, immunogenicity, and genetic stability, and this time in a non-contained situation. This is really a very important step in the development of this project. So now I bring you to the clouds, and I'm on cloud 9 to tell you my vision. And my vision is, first of all, to finish the work with this novel oral polio vaccine type 2, to think about a similar exercise, to consider whether we will need that for the type 2 and type 3 situation. And finally, also to think about the need maybe in the future to have real buildings, to have a permanent containment facility which may fasten the development of candidate vaccines. And if we do so, sooner or later, and I hope it's soon, in Wikipedia we will read poliomyelitis was a viral infectious disease. I would like to thank you all for listening, to thank, of course, my team, to thank the 100 people who were and are behind this project, to thank my wife, my daughter for making the slides, Reeves for coaching me, and of course the Bill and Melinda Gates for supporting this project. Thank you.